We'll get going. Oh, there we go. All right, the recording is on. So welcome everyone to our first member-focused meeting. These meetings are really a way for us to share our insights and best practices and advice that might be beneficial to your business and to others. So we will probably be experimenting with the format a little bit and make some adjustments from month to month, but share your thoughts with us when this is over. We would love your feedback to make this better the next time around. So much of the talk around this pandemic has been related to keeping our seniors safe and our families safe, but what about ourselves and our businesses? So that's really what our topic is going to be today. So I will introduce our first speaker, Alyssa Boroff with Livable Home Solutions. I have had the pleasure of working with Alyssa on the National Board of Directors for a couple of years, and she is a great addition to that board and to Minneapolis and to our organization. So thank you, Alyssa, for all that you do for our group, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. So you can see up on the screen, my company is Livable Home Solutions. We do home modification assessments and consulting. You can see there. So my background is in both occupational therapy and interior design. And so a little bit of history. I've been doing this for about 17 years. About 15 years ago, I founded a division of a larger company doing exactly what I'm doing now, providing home modification assessments for people with disabilities and older adults. And our primary clients right now tend to be somebody with a disability or, and I should say, and on medical assistance or Medicaid waivered services. However, in the last several years, we've been getting a lot more clients that are looking to age in place. And so when the pandemic hit, I had a team of 7 people, and we, as a division of a larger company, I'll back up, that company's primary services were physical, occupational, and speech therapy, working in nursing homes and assisted living. And that was a blessing and a curse in that the blessing was our CEO had no idea what we were doing. And a curse was she had no idea what we were doing. I had the freedom to we just did our thing because that wasn't really the company's core business. We were successful. We were growing. I had just hired 2 new people. But yet the curse side of that happened when the pandemic came, that on St. Patrick's Day, on a Tuesday morning, I was told at 9 o'clock, you need to shut your division down by the end of the day. And I said, that's impossible. We have 300 plus open clients, and the nature of our business was we would do the assessment and see a project through, meaning a home modification project, which was everything from a higher height toilet to an elevator and everything in between. And we also were, we worked with the clients, obviously themselves. We worked with contractors, the general contractors, and the case managers and vendors. So we had this huge network of people that we were the hub of keeping everything afloat. And so I said, we can't do that. And also the people paying us was the government, Medicaid. Here in Minnesota, we call it medical assistance, but Medicaid waiver programs. And so I literally bought myself another week by saying, I can't do that because what do you want to do with the money that we need to either give back? And so I was given till Monday to tell my team, who all happened to be occupational therapists by background, which was a fantastic skill set in what we were doing, as well as being aging in place specialists and accessibility specialists. So what the desire for our CEO, or my previous CEO, was that she wanted to take those occupational therapists and let them go into nursing homes and assisted living to help out. And so while the intent was good, it was, in my opinion, premature. So after months of, and I did literally lose my team, in that they were all reassigned to other positions. However, not as OTs. They ended up just going in and helping in nursing homes and trying to do whatever was asked during the pandemic. Taking temperatures, helping do laundry, passing out meals, very important, essential things. But from a professional standpoint, I was very concerned or very, very challenged. Next slide, Jessica. So some of the things, and I went through some of these, but for me, that limited vision and the limited understanding of what we do, where it had been a blessing before, now the curse piece came up because I was literally negotiating with our CEO that, hey, this is a significant impact. The home modification assessments, the HMA that I have on this slide here, we literally, we had clients that not just aging in place, well, really everyone's aging in place, but lots of, we had people from 2 years old to 102. And what I was really personally impacted by also was, these are not people that are just saying, hey, I want to improve and make my house look better. These were true functional challenges that these people with disabilities had. Lots of people who their solution to a shower was going to the YMCA to take a shower. And that now even further with the pandemic, they were losing their caregivers and their personal care attendants. And so it made it even worse. So I personally was like struggling with, I have a personal responsibility to my team of people who were being redirected, still in a good way, but we had lots of things to do. So the other professional and business aspect was, we were in the midst of getting projects approved so that contractors could then get paid to do a project for 40 to 80,000 or whatever the amount would be. So that put contractors in a pinch that now they weren't getting things approved because we weren't in the middle of that. So, so I found that it was very personal, but I also really struggled with a professional responsibility or challenge. I also, now on the flip side, as you'll hear, I have lots of project managers that were working for me previously that were very loyal and said, we'll do whatever we need to do. But I lost a couple that said, I just can't do this anymore. So it was very, very challenging. Part of why I'm here, what's funny, so when Tara had asked a few weeks ago, said, hey, is there anyone from your chapter that could talk about what they did to deal with things in the pandemic? And I very jokingly said, quit your job and start a new business. And Tara said, oh, I'll sign you up. And that sounds crazy, but that's what I did. And so I think for me, it was a matter of, as I have on here, the personal, but and I think that's why a lot of us do what we do, is the personal connection, something that has personally led us into why we're doing. And I love to hear that when I meet new people, whether it's somebody who started a home healthcare agency and said, my mother was, going through this and I didn't like the way, or I loved the way it was, and I decided I wanted to make an impact. So for me, I founded this division of a larger company 17 years ago, and I was very proud of that. And then I started feeling like, wait a minute, this isn't what I imagined it. And there's lots of people that are being impacted by us not being able to provide services. So the short version is all of those things led me, after talking with some of my project managers who were having to do whatever they needed to in other agencies. And then I went to my husband and said, I think we can do this. And said, all right, next step. So next slide, Jessica. It did leave me to throw in the towel and then say, there's one of the things, and I have to pause because I'm not a business consultant, and to say, oh, just quit your job and go start a new company in the middle of a pandemic. But what led me to that was in looking at thinking that there was an immediate need. And I knew actually from the previous agency I was at, we had a waiting list of 80 people waiting for this service, which is a lot. And so I knew there was an immediate need for this. My industry experience, and then seeing that there was the right people, meaning I had a team of people that I knew were fantastic and the right time. And of course, I had to talk to my husband first and talk through. And what was great is he was on board with it, and knew that this was a good business. I mean, obviously, anyone does things to have a good business opportunity, but we had the opportunity to know we were still going to be able to make a difference for people. It's an immediate need. It's great. There could be challenges, of course, looking at putting some of the logistics in place of learning, filing for a new business and getting those things. Those were easy things to set up. Making the transition and starting to do things on our own as far as getting financing in place and all of that. What I learned is I was very scared, but yet a good scared of how do I do that? We can figure it out. The internet is a wonderful thing. We can figure those things out. And so my message in a nutshell, or I think back to when I started this division of the previous company I was at. For years, people would say, oh, you don't own that company? No, because it really was run more like a small business. And this comes into my mind a lot. There was a member of the NAIPC in our Minneapolis chapter that when I met her a couple years ago, every meeting I would sit and chit chat with her and she would say, I still don't get why you don't have this as your own company. And there was always something in me that was, I'd love to do that, but that would stir the pot, it would do whatever. And so that was my motivation, that for a few years I had thought back, I was bored because there wasn't really anything for me to do next. Like, what can I do next? And even though as far as some of my skill set, because now I'm doing invoicing or I'm doing things that I had an admin to do before, but now with myself and my husband, we're in control. So again, not saying everyone should run out and start a new business, but I think that the pandemic or whatever the situations are for people, make a positive out of it and see that there are things that can happen. We could be getting 4 to 6 inches of snow in the middle of October, sometimes September. But that thing we all say, oh, make lemonade out of lemons or that. I really think, especially now when some people during the pandemic or whatever the situation might be, they need something. And I kept going back to the immediate need for services. There's a need. So I think we all have a skill set that we know we can provide and offer. And I think it's fantastic when we have the opportunity to seize it and do something new or different. So that's my short version of and I think for Tara hearing, I really laughed when I'm like, I don't know that's the best business consulting or the business advice, but do it. Take a chance, take an opportunity. With that, I am going to move on to the next one. So Adrielle of Adrielle Designs is going to talk to us a little bit about how you can better when you're working in a different situation and how you might create an effective work from home environment, which we are all doing.
Thank you. That was great and very inspiring. And I love the name of your business, by the way. That's really good.
Thank you.
So for many of us, working from home is a new experience and one we didn't really have time to plan. Our lives and our schedules have been disrupted, and we may find ourselves faced with inadequate space and uncertain routines, adding to an already stressful situation. And we didn't expect that we'd be spending so much time at home. But have no fear, there are solutions to every problem and many ways to help relieve the feeling of helplessness and take control of the situation. I'm happy to share with you 6 tips and 2 cents worth of advice to create an effective work from home environment. So Jessica, slide number 1. The first, and I think it's the most important, is establish a dedicated workspace. The most important thing about working from home is keeping to a routine and designating a space to work from and nothing else. Even if that space is the end of your dining room table, it psychologically tells your brain that you are at work, and it lets everyone else know that when you are at your workspace, you are working and not to be disturbed. Keeping this area sacred will help you set your work schedule and will allow you to leave work behind when you're finished for the day and move away from it so you're not tempted to work all day. Some ideas for locations are some awkward, unused space, like under a staircase. Maybe you have a spare closet you can clean out and create a little office there. An empty corner of a guest room, maybe behind a sofa in the living room, on the peninsula or the island of your kitchen, and maybe you have a breakfast nook. Number 2, Jessica, flexibility of use. Remember, if you're sharing a space with spouses or children, you're going to want to have enough room to set up your workspace versus computer space. So equipment and supplies should be chosen for versatility. Next slide, please. Good lighting. Good lighting is essential for any workspace. Natural light's the best, so open your windows, draw back those drapes, fully open your plantation shutters. Vitamin D from the sun will enhance your mood and help boost your immune system. Then supplement with lamps, either a table lamp or floor lamp. And if you're fortunate enough to have an entire room for your office, get some plants, place some spotlights behind them to shoot light up a wall, and that'll help create a feeling of spaciousness. And remember, lift your head now and then, gaze out the window, rest your eyes from the computer screen. Next slide. Ergonomic furniture is a must. Trends are nice and fun, but your back and neck are more important. Working in bed, not an option. Choose a chair that's comfortable and adjustable in every which way and has breathable fabric. This is an item you don't want to cheap out on. It can literally cost you thousands in chiropractic visits if you don't. Don't work on a surface that's too high or too low. Your arms should hang at a comfortable level, and you should be sitting upright and looking forward. If you're hanging your head down to look at your computer screen, get some books, put it on top of your desk, put the screen on top of the books, or buy a stand. It's really important. I've been there and done that with the neck issues. You really want to keep your head facing forward. Next slide, please. Buy some live plants. Studies have shown that live plants have an energizing effect on our mood. Live plants help us feel renewed and actually clean the air and release oxygen. Next slide. Organize. Think about all the items you need to work effectively. Allow ample space to hold your computer, your printer, your phone, office supplies, whatever it is you use in your business. And remember, if you need a file cabinet, allow room for the drawers to open fully. Bulletin boards and wall calendars can help keep everyone's schedules and reminders visible. And the last, next slide. This is my 2 cents worth. Workspace can be as efficient as possible, but if you don't like it, you're not going to be happy. So create a workspace you'll enjoy. Have something fun on your desk, something that makes you smile, a stuffed toy or a picture of your family or your pet. Bring in some artwork that reflects your personality. Paint your walls a color that stimulates your brain. Next slide. And remember, attitude is everything. Negative thoughts create negative energy. Find the joys in your life and focus on those. If you find yourself getting down, watch something funny. Go outside, take a walk. Limit your news intake. Meditate, anything that lifts you up. Thought directs energy. Energy directs thought. I'm an interior designer who's a certified aging in place specialist and a certified living in place professional. I take people's houses that aren't really working from them and I turn them into their dream homes that will accommodate their changing needs. If you would like assistance setting up your home office, I am offering to everyone on the call today a free 30-minute online consultation until the end of October. My contact information's on the screen and in the chat box, and please visit me at adrieldesigns.com. And now I would like to introduce you to Susan Sketchel from Gentle Home Services.
Susan, you're muted.
Sorry.
There you go.
Thank you so much. I was looking around my office, Adriel, and looking at your suggestions, making sure I had the list checked off, and I'm good. Thank you. I'm Susan Sketchel, and I'm representing Gentle Home Services. We're a private duty home care agency based in Deerfield, Illinois, and we do in-home care. We offer supplemental staffing for independent living and concierge a la carte services for some of the communities in our area. A little bit about me. I've been in the elder care space for 20 plus years. Next slide, please. I have worked in home care. I worked for an elder lawyer who did a lot of elder abuse, exploitation, guardianship cases. The godfather of elder abuse, we call him. And I also worked for a private nurse patient advocate. So I really learned a lot about the patient advocacy, which has really come to light now with the COVID situation, as people are trying to gain access to their loved ones in the community. I'm on the board for the Home Care Association of America, the Illinois chapter, and I'm recently elected to the Case Management Society Association of the Chicagoland chapter. I'm an active member of NAIPC, the Chicagoland, and I'm a volunteer community educator for the Alzheimer's Association. So I pretty much have covered one end of the continuum from 18 years on to 108 years old. Next slide, please. It's been a challenge in our industry, and I think Nicole can relate to this as well. You know, you have a plan A, plan B, but when plan B doesn't work, what's plan C? I think this whole situation is created for me is a whole new perspective and awareness of just how vulnerable we have become and things that we have taken for granted. Whether you have a personal feeling about this pandemic, if it's, you know, if it was deliberate or not, I think it's forced us to realize that we are in a vulnerable situation no matter where we live and where we work. Remote working, it wasn't as bad as we all thought. You know, everybody had to pick up their equipment from the office before everything shut down and get our phones and get new technology. But there haven't been that many hiccups. And I think the core office team realized how easily we were able to adapt working remotely. We certainly miss seeing each other, but we've used technology to overcome that. We have certainly reduced our overhead. We don't have to have the big office space that we used to have. We can do a lot of our documents online now. We certainly had to increase our internet bandwidth. You know, when you, especially at home, now that everybody's home, you can't just rely on the normal bandwidth. We've had to really extend that and get Wi-Fi boosters and maybe a second router to accommodate everybody's use at home. Have certainly learned new skills, especially when we're looking at platforms like Zoom or Blue Jeans or Webinar or other platforms to do presentations. And YouTube has become my friend. I've gone to YouTube to learn a lot of things about how do I fix my Keurig machine? How do I unclog a filter in the washing machine? Because you can't call these repair guys as easily to come to your house. So you've had to figure out how to fix things yourself. We're also migrating to a new platform. We're moving over to Microsoft Teams. I'm not an expert, I'm just learning. Again, I'm learning more on YouTube how to use Teams, but it seems to be really fun and it's a neat way to communicate. And probably in about 3 weeks, we are going to eliminate our phone system. So I'll be able to take phone calls right on my laptop. And if it doesn't ring on my laptop, it forwards to my cell phone. So I'm really excited to see how this is all going to work. I think this whole situation has forced us all to be more creative, finding new solutions to old problems, because the old solutions just don't seem to work anymore. I think everybody's been kind of pushed to the edge to think about, well, what can we do? Let's try this. Well, we've tried that before, but let's try it again. Maybe sometimes you just need a new coat of paint or just a new perspective on things, and being able to move forward and not get stuck in the rut and get paralyzed with indecisiveness. Next slide, please. So, when people talk about, well, when we get back to normal, this is the new normal. This is it. We're not going back. We just have to keep looking forward. And I think this is the reality. And we just have to change our mindset and get used to it, because this is where we are today. That is my portion for today's presentation. And I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Netta Wennick. She is from Ascent Insurance Services. And in her picture, she is renamed herself as the Medicare Diva. So I can't wait to hear about that. Netta?
So as she said, I'm Nita Wenrick, and I'm part of the Orange County chapter here with Tara and Carolyn Novotny. Hey, Carolyn. So kind of following up on what Alyssa said, let me give you a little bit of background. I've been working in the senior care community for about 35 years. I'm a Medicare, or I'm a music therapist by training. So I worked in assisted livings and senior centers and retirement homes doing music therapy for many years. And then I went into working in a geriatric psych unit. So a locked unit, and I did that for 6 years. And honestly, there isn't anything that you can throw at me that I have not seen. So I pretty much have seen it all. And then 6 years I went to a home care company doing marketing. And then 6 years ago, I went to work for a company called K&R Consulting Group, financial advisors that brought me in to actually work with veterans benefits, the aid and attendance benefits. And when that changed a couple of years ago, we were looking for something for me to do, and I became the Medicare agent. So that's where I am now, Medicare agent. And kind of to follow up on what Alyssa said, I had been thinking for 6 months or so that I really needed to go out on my own. And so I kind of got pushed out the door. I didn't lose my job per se, I quit my job, but just for reasons that I thought it was better for me to be on my own, with my own agency. So October 1st, so it's very new, I started Ascent Insurance Services. I had laid all the groundwork with the DBA and the bank account and all of that. I had already done that, but I launched it. I left my paid job to do a commission only job now here during the middle of a pandemic. So it's a challenge, but I can really focus only on Medicare. I don't have to do all of the other things that I was doing for K&R. So here I am at the very beginning of annual enrollment. We just started on Thursday. and with my own insurance company. So it's been a challenge, and it's frightening, as Alyssa said, because you're not sure what's going to happen, especially leaving a paid job to go to commission only. But it's all good. And, you know, I think I finally got all my carriers switched over, and I think we're pretty much done with that. But I think, you know, everything, the having to be in my tiny little office. Adriel, I'm going to call you because I think I need help. I'm in a corner of our bedroom here, so I do have a dedicated office space, but it's not as workable as I'd like. So I'll send you some pictures. Maybe you can help me. But I do have, you know, working from home. I've been working from home since March 17th, since St. Patrick's Day. And I found that I like it, and found that I don't need an office. You know, I can go out and meet people in person. However, the changes that have happened with Medicare specifically, and of course it affects all of the agents, they really do not want us going out and meeting people in person because of the liability to the companies. So we are doing, you know, phone calls, we're doing Zoom meetings, you know, all of that to meet with our clients and then potential clients. So that has changed dramatically, because just like any insurance, you know, it's a very face-to-face business, and people like to meet face-to-face. So, but not being able to do that, we're making do with what we can do. And my clients have been very, you know, flexible as far as what we can and aren't allowed to do. So that's been a big change, being at home. The other thing is, you know, this time of year especially, we would be out doing pie events and talking to senior groups and that kind of thing. We can't do that this year. So we're all working on how do we do this on Zoom or on a webinar. We're still all trying to find our footing and how to do it. And I've done a couple with not huge success yet, but I'm working on actually meeting with already pre-existing groups that meet every week, like Lions or Exchange Club, things like that, so that I could just come in and speak for a few minutes. That seems to work better than just trying to pull people out of thin air to meet on a Zoom meeting, church groups, anything like that. So that's changed dramatically. And the other thing that has changed, I'm a very paper person. I like paper applications. I like to have that in my hand. And, you know, we're not doing that as much now. And when we started back in March, only maybe 2 of my carriers actually did online applications with DocuSign. And so now they're all doing DocuSign applications, and it's so cool because we just put everything in, email it, they check it, they sign it, and done. It's done. And then I can print out the paper copy from my files, which I like to have. So that has changed drastically for us as Medicare agents, being able to do that. And in talking to my mentors, you know, we talked about going out and meeting people face to face, and they said, there's no reason to have to do that, you know, to be safe, because we are working with a more vulnerable population, working with seniors. And so it's just better for us. And kind of the neat thing is, you know, we don't have travel time. So in a day, you could do maybe 5 to 6 appointments a day, and that's pushing it because of travel time. Now we could do 8, 9, you know, because then we can do them back to back because we don't have travel time. So that, I think, is going to make our annual enrollment, make it much more productive for people. I'm at least just getting my foot under me, because I've been doing this just a little over a year. So I'm still learning, still learning Medicare, and things change every year. So I think, you know, what everybody has said about being open, even though I had thought about doing this, you know, it's a scary thing to just quit your job and start your own company. But there was a particular situation that happened that it was a very clear indication to me that it was time. And so I did it. And just being open to just new ways of doing things, and because you never know where that next great idea is going to come from. You know, somebody may be doing something that is kind of outside of my wheelhouse, but it might work for me. Same thing for you. Something totally unexpected might come your way. And I think that's why these types of gatherings are so important. We do our networking. I mean, our chapters are meeting online. I'm a member of BNI, for those of you that know, Business Network International, and 9,000 chapters went online like almost overnight. And so we've made it work, and our chapter's actually grown. We've added 5 new members since we've been on lockdown. So everybody was at first was like, we can't do this. It's not going to work, because we're a networking group. We need to meet face to face. And it's working. So I think that, like Susan said, just looking for those new opportunities and new ways of doing things. We've all pretty much got Zoom under our belt, but there are other things. I've not heard of Blue Jeans. I have to check that out. That's something new to me. But just being able to meet like this is important. So, I'm looking always for people to just talk about Medicare with, make sure they've got the right plans. Sometimes it comes to nothing. Sometimes it's a new client, and it doesn't matter, and right now helping people enroll in Medicare is something that we can do, besides finding a good plan for them, helping them, find a dentist or a doctor that meets their needs. Those are the kinds of things we're more able to do right now. So that's kind of my story, and I'm happy to answer questions. I do work right now only in California as far as being able to write Medicare policies, but I can answer generic questions about Medicare for anybody that gives me a call. So thanks for the opportunity to let me speak, and I'm going to turn it back over to Tara.
Great. Thank you so much. That was fantastic. All of you, thank you for sharing your insights and your tips with us today. So we have a few minutes left. We were originally going to break out into the breakout rooms, but we have a smaller group, so it might be better for the conversation if we all stay here. But I just wanted to open up if there's anyone else that would like to share what are some adjustments that you've made to your own personal business strategies that would be beneficial to the group. Anyone? David, it looks like you want to say something. No?
I always have something to say. I just want to acknowledge the NAIPC really for innovating and breaking this into a national stage for the most part, because for instance, I'm in New York City, but I can certainly call up almost everybody except Netta right now to say, hey, I need some assistance, some of this, that, or the other thing to help me, even though I'm not yet an elder, but I'm getting there. But even just to have some knowledge of what's out there, because all 4 of these presentations were very passionate, and I think you guys have a real why as to why you're doing what you're doing, and I'm appreciative of it. And in this new normal, we are all trying to innovate and to pivot and to make it work. And so for me, as an online exercise platform or joint health activity platform for elders, for instance, not many companies that would use our software were willing to take on new projects and to implement new things. They were just trying to stay afloat and keep their elders safe. And so I've been patiently waiting and just trying to get the word out there to, acknowledge that elders who have been home for since March are not necessarily getting the exercise they used to. And so we believe that the right exercise in a safe, simple, and effective manner can lead to more happiness and less pain. So ultimately, we will find our way through the online or web-based software solutions. And I think the NAIPC has just really been embracing to me, so I'm very appreciative of them.
Well, thanks, David. I know that we have a lot of home care folks on the call today. Mike, Nicole, I saw Gina. Hi, Gina, from Chicagoland. Is there anything that you all would like to share that maybe Susan didn't cover?
Well, I could add to David, big part of what we do has to be planning. And that's really the message that we, as from the Chicagoland chapter, emphasize over and over when we do outreach programs. is it's all about planning. So David, in what you're doing, it's still a planning, still a new world out there. The pandemic has, created a new level of awareness of how they can age in place. And exercise is going to be a big part of that for long-term stability. So like you said, you've been waiting patiently. I think it will come.
I appreciate that, Gina. Thank you. And
I just
thanks,
want-
Netta, for giving me some insight and some access point for
Yeah,
Silver
so
Sneakers. Thank
Silver
you.
Sneakers is who provides most of the for the Medicare Advantage plans, and they have all like Anytime Fitness, YMC. They're all part of that, and it may be and everything's online right now, so you might be able to get in with them there and see if that might work for you.
Yeah, it's about meeting the right people. So I know I can reach my local Silver Sneakers, but if they don't have the bandwidth to take it to the next level and hear it on a critical and/or strategic way to build business together, then it falls almost on deaf ears. So to me, part of the struggles, let's say, for Comfort Care, for instance, I know it's a franchised facility under a larger umbrella, and I was meeting with them. I had a first meeting or so pre-COVID, and then COVID hit, and so everything kind of fell apart. So it's like I'm just kind of waiting for it to get to be a more normalized state of affairs, so I can reach back out to the leaders at Comfort Care to say, hey, this is a great add-on service for you guys to do some activities with your elders when you're with them to help with their blood flow and their joints or their pain or their mobility. But yeah, I appreciate that, Netta. Thank you.
Come.
David, have you reached out to the national office in Washington of the Home Care Association?
Of which association?
Home Care Association of America.
I don't know of them too much, but I will. They're based in Washington?
Yeah, they're in Washington. The executive director is Vicki Hoak, Hoak. She might be able to help you with a national platform with the home care agencies across the country. And the other thought I had was the area of aging in your area.
The what?
The area on aging.
The area on aging?
Area Agency on Aging. That's actually one of the topics that we have coming up next year, how to work with your local area agency on aging. So I see people shaking their heads, so I think that'll be a good topic. Everyone's saying yes. Yay. Fantastic. Well, I just want to wrap it up. We have about 10 minutes left. Is there anybody else that wants to share something?
Thank you. Thanks, you guys, for your insights.
Tara, I had a
experience.
question for you.
Sure.
Have you ever reached out to AARP to get recognized through their organization and what NAIPC is all about?
I personally have not, but I've only been doing this since August. So
Right,
if you
no,
have
I
any
know.
contacts over there, I would love to weigh in. We would love to work with
Yeah, right, because I just think that, it probably would help every chapter if national, I guess, opened that door. I do not have a person, I know of a person here who I've been trying to get to, and my conversations are in sound bites, so I haven't accomplished much with them. But I'm just thinking from a national standpoint, if we were able to get their attention, if you will, because I know that they do have local people in each larger metropolitan area. So that might be a good angle from that standpoint that would kind of affect just, I guess, bringing a different level of credibility to the organization because
Right.
they are so well recognized, nationally.
Right. I think one of the challenges we have is to show groups like that how we're not competing with them, but how we
Right.
support their
Support them.
operations.
Agreed. Yeah, some people feel threatened by it, right?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
not what we're doing. It's not what
Yeah.
we're doing.
I'll
I
add
do have.
and Jessica, you can maybe weigh in. So from a board perspective, I'm on the board here for NAIPC, and then locally in Minneapolis, we had kind of the same challenges, Gina, that you've had. I think overall, one of the big things that NAIPC in connecting with AARP has been that there's not a national connection, and one chapter might have an easy time connecting and another chapter may not. So I think it's really important, and it has been something, and Jessica, you can weigh in, that's been kind of a hot topic or an agenda item for years in what's the right way to do that, because there hasn't always been a good connection, I guess is the right way from a programming standpoint. And I'm going to speak on our process here, like with, I think when we were specifically looking out to them, they came, did a couple years ago, we did an Aging in Place Week presentation with somebody from AARP, and then tried to also utilize doing some technology programs with them. And they're very specific that they have certain programs that they have to do. They have to have it in a certain location and have certain bandwidth and all of that. So it was a little more challenging to try and meet with all of their expectations. But I think, Gina, you're right that as times change, we need to be sure that we're trying to connect with them. And it would help if we could do it in a umbrella situation.
Right, right. I think it'll help support each chapter trying to make that connection if there's a national connection. So Tara, I just put something on your list of things to do.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't that so kind of me?
I actually,
Sorry.
hi, it's Deanne in Nevada. I actually do have some good AARP connections. I work very closely with them, and they've been much more, for lack of better terms, forgiving at working with other organizations, because we all need to work together. And they were already faced with a lot of challenges because their volunteers are typically over 50, and a lot of them didn't Zoom. And so I was trying to do some aging in place with them, and it was kind of interesting because they couldn't get the seniors on there. So I worked very closely with Barry Gold, who is not only in our state, but he is always in DC, and he supports every single one of our senior events and everything here. So I'll reach out to him and see if there's any kind of a national person that we can speak with. Because yes, in the past, it was kind of a conflict, but I think they're more open now. And I can tell you here in Nevada, they are not doing anything in person indefinitely, definitely for the rest of the year. So it's a good time to be able to partner, just to be able to reach people through my Seniors in Law Enforcement Together Council. We are doing a big event with them, and it's all online. And now we're using their platform. So we do have a lot of those rules like Alyssa was talking about, but we're learning how to work with those just so that we can get an opportunity to reach out to their database, which is great.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Well, we'll definitely connect after this
Yeah.
and see if there's a way. I feel like everything is just converging all at once, and there's a way for us as members to really benefit our seniors and ourselves personally and our local chapters. And I'm really excited about where we are as an organization. And I'm really excited that all of you have joined us today. And it was a great conversation. So thank you all for everything you have to share. Our next event is going to be the new member orientation. And even if you've been a member for years, I would really encourage you to go. We have so many new things in the works. You never know what might be there that could benefit you personally. So jump over there on November 5th. It's going to be a Zoom call November 5th. And then Alyssa and Janine, I don't think Janine's going to make it. Alyssa and the rest of the Minneapolis crew are doing our next virtual networking event on November 18th. And then I think we're putting together in December a program, and I'd love your input on using the Act 3 document to have those conversations that families need to have around the holidays, around Christmas time. So we're going to use that as our educational program for December. So I have one more thing I'm going to ask you to do before we end. Jessica has a poll on items that you would like to see in the future. So if you could just vote on your way out, that would be great. And thank you all for joining us today. Hope to see you at future events.
Thank you.